What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about our fleet. Now, I know we talk about our fleet a lot. However, for those of you that may not watch our videos every single time, we lose a lot of cars, we buy a lot of cars, and sometimes our cars go missing. So it's time to finally recap and update you guys on where our fleet is at right now and where we're going with it.
In fact, HP and I've been on YouTube now for about 10 months on this dual channel, and the last time we did a fleet update where we actually broke down which cars we own currently, that was back in July, and our fleet has changed a ton since then, so this is long overdue.
I think we've lost like 5 cars and we've
lost a ton of cars since then, because not only have a lot been we've had multiple total losses since then, but we've also sold a lot. I think we have like a 6 or 7 vehicle difference since then. So this is a long overdue video. So the original plan for this video, similar to the original plan whenever we originally did this video back in July, was to do a video showing every single one of our cars in real life. But the problem is that 2 of our cars just went out on extended rentals for over a month, and all of our other cars are pretty consistently rented out. So it's basically impossible to get all of the cars together at the same time.
And with gas prices like skyrocketing to $3.99, $4.15 in some areas, it's only natural that a lot of people want economy cars, especially the ones like ours that get great gas mileage, and almost all of our fleet is like 4 cylinders, so that's good for us.
Win-win.
Win-win.
So we're just going to be going through the P&L that I have here, because to be honest, sometimes I forget which cars we have, and I'm going to be reading from this to indicate which car it is, how much we roughly bought it for, and then HP is going to be giving y'all the rundown of how the car does on Turo and kind of some of the quick pros and cons of that vehicle. So let's kick this off with our 2008 Ford Escape. We purchased this car for $4,500, which is absolutely a steal, and we've had this car for about 3 years now.
I actually like this car a lot. It's a pretty high-end trim for 2008. It's dated. There's no Bluetooth and, there's no navigation, anything like that. But I will tell you, this car is really in good condition. We've had to do some maintenance over the years, and this car is actually nearing up to right about 200,000 miles very soon. So naturally, it would need some things like suspension components, which we replaced, and it also needed some oil leaks fixed, but now it's running pretty stout. So one of my favorite cars.
It's also our only SUV.
Yeah, it is our only SUV.
Next, we have our 2007 Toyota Yaris. This is 2 doors. We purchased this, and going through these numbers of these cars that we purchased 2-3 years ago makes me so depressed, because this one we bought for $3,000, and we've had it for about 2.5-3 years.
Now, this car was like the last Toyota Yaris that we purchased in this body style. And at the time, we actually bought it from a girl in SMU who was just graduating to a nicer car. I like this car. It's bare bones basic. It's a 2-door, manual everything, except the transmission's automatic. But this car is very stout, very solid. We have had some, very particular issues in the past, but you can't kill this car. It's a great car.
Well, and you make the fart noise at the automatic, but that's what we look for. HP might prefer manual cars, but for our Turo fleets, manual is not even something that we consider. Next is the 2007 red Ford Focus. We purchased this one a pretty long time. It's been now, I think, going on 4 years since we purchased that car. Yeah. It's our oldest car. It's arguably our ugliest car, and it's also our cheapest car we've ever purchased for $2,300.
This is like our redheaded stepchild of a vehicle. Again, this is another one that's just a solid car, very stout, has given us 0 really hard mechanical issues. Recently, we've had some issues with the automatic locks on the door, just a lot of small plastic bits that just end up breaking over time. It's kind of inevitable, but this car has a lot of dents, a lot of dings, a lot of good scratches on it, really old battle scars, and the interior is Aubrey's favorite, tan, which doesn't hold up the time very well, so it's due for a very extensive cleaning. But overall, this car is very stout. I like this car. It's kind of one of those cars that we've had for so long that as much as we bash on it for being ugly. I wouldn't want to get rid of it.
Well, and the thing that's great about the 07 Focus and why like HP and I have spoken about, like whenever we bought our next car that we're about to talk about, our other white Ford Focus, the thought was like, let's get another ugly Ford Focus. That way we can have some cheaper cars, because that's like the reason why the red Ford Focus does so well is because it's by far our cheapest car. And so there's those people that just don't really care what it looks like. They're like, we want a cheap car. And I feel like there's demand in the Dallas area for more cars like that. But the problem is that the Focus that we just bought's too nice for that too. So the red Focus, even though it's ugly, fulfills a really important need. And that brings us to our next car on the list, which is our 2011 white Ford Focus. You may remember it from a video a couple of months ago. We bought that back in January for $5,000.
And that car is a cream puff, not just for $5,000, but overall, this one is very well spec'd out, just like our 2008 Ford Escape. It's got the nicer surround sound system. It's got the nicer wheels on the outside. It's got the nicer interior, leather, heated seats. This car is very stout. It really puts our 2007 Ford Focus to shame as far as appearances go. It's like the ugly sister and the good looking sister, but I like it just the same.
I like the ugly sister.
I like the ugly sister.
But the white Ford Focus is super nice. It is tan interior, which I don't love, but the fact it's leather tan kind of makes up for it.
Yeah.
So next up on the list is our 2013 blue Hyundai Sonata, which we got almost exactly a year ago, maybe about 11 months, and we purchased this one for $3,500.
We actually got this one from Aubrey's sister, who was upgrading to a different car, and right shortly after, I was able to get a lot of the small mechanical things wrong, check engine light and some misfires and whatnot, paint. The engine exploded on it, like as we were doing our test drive right before we were about to list the vehicle. So that was kind of a really big Debbie Downer when we got this car.
It was even worse than that. We were driving with our 2-month-old niece from my sister's house, thinking that we were going to list it on Turo the next day, and the engine blew.
Yeah, and that was our like final test drive run, and it just came out of nowhere. But thankfully, Hyundai had the recall for the bearings on that car, and everything was completely covered. So after we ended up getting a brand new long block engine in that vehicle, it worked wonders. And the car just overall was really great. The interior is actually pretty nice. We got it professionally detailed at an old detailer I used to work at a dealership with. And we even replaced things that go bad on that car, like rear taillights. So it really does shine up pretty well. The paint is probably like a solid 5 out of 10, but I like this car a lot. It does really well on the platform. I even painted the wheels black to hide all the scratches. It just looks great.
Next up is our 2011 Honda Accord, which we bought for $7,000, and we've had this one now for a couple of years.
Yeah, now
about 2.5 years.
This one's pretty, I would probably say pretty trimmed up spec right next to our Ford Focus. The downside is that this is also tan interior as well. This tan interior, unlike the Ford Focus, has not held up very well either. So looking at this one,
the leather has, but the carpet has not.
The leather's even, I feel like, a little dirty too. It's just age. People sit on it, blue jeans and all this stuff.
That's
right?
true. That's true.
Yeah. Now this car has kind of given us some problems in the past. The power steering rack went out on that one. Had a lower ball joint failure one time out of rentals. So it's been under the knife a few times, but once we got those issues sorted out, it's been very reliable.
But it's also been, in defense of the Honda Accord, it has been a rental that has like been driven. Like I remember whenever we first got it, a renter went 6,000 miles over in that car. Remember the lady that worked at Amazon?
Gosh.
And we had to go, yeah. So that is a car that has been driven a lot. It's been, I think, abused more than other cars. I don't really know why, but I think I think it's just been, driven more than a lot of our other cars that we have.
It's been driven hard, but people like it. Heated seats too.
Yeah, it's a nice car. So next up we have probably one of my favorite ones in the fleet, our 2011 green Mazda 2, which we purchased last summer for $5,000. This was a really good buy.
AKA the Sour Skittle. This is our first Mazda, and actually I like this car a lot. We bought this car after we got back from Hawaii because we also rented a Mazda in Hawaii from Turo. And we kind of got to get real familiar over a week in Hawaii with this car, and we're like, Mazda makes a pretty stout car. Well, doing some further research, And as you guys know, I'm a Ford guy at heart, so I like Ford vehicles. It has a Ford engine in it. A lot of the parts actually say Ford on it. So, of course, I'm on board. We're looking for kind of a similar Toyota Yaris vibe, and this car fits the bill perfectly. It has all 4 doors with automatic locks and windows, which is really cool. Something that was hard to find in a lot of Toyota Yarises at the same time.
Impossible to find.
Impossible. And this particular car was immaculate. And I mean, very clean on the inside. A few scratches here and there on the outside, but the inside was just flawless. So I like this car a lot. It's introduced us to a whole new realm of brand of vehicles we didn't know to look at, and I like this car. Our Sour Skittle is definitely cool.
I think the Mazda 2 is probably my favorite new Turo car that we've gotten. I think the Mazda 2 is so nice. It's like the perfect size. It's a little bit bigger than the Yaris. And I think if any of y'all watching this video are on the like verge of buying a absurdly bright colored car, like a green car, I would go for it. Because I think part of the reason why the Mazda 2 does so well is because it's so bright green.
It's a good looking car.
So next up is our best car that we have in our fleet. It performs extremely well, and that is our 2009 Mercedes-Benz C300, which we purchased from my parents for $6,000 last summer.
Now, this car definitely put kind of a scare on me because I've worked in the realm of luxury dealerships before, and I worked in the service department. And the best part about working at a luxury department and a service department is that you make a lot of money because everything costs a lot. Well, this car, surprisingly, has done very well on the platform. It's rented out a lot, it's beautiful on the inside, and it has given us no problems. Yeah. Until now.
Oh yeah.
It's sitting in front of our house.
I forgot that it had an issue as we're making this video.
And it has such a niche issue. Like, it's something that happens on these cars, but it's such a weird random thing that doesn't happen on any other type of model vehicle that I've experienced. So the kicker here is that normally this costs $1,900. I'm gonna repair it for hopefully for $20, in the worst case scenario $500, which is still a fraction of what it would cost at a dealership.
And I mean, whenever we compare it to like how much this car has made, it's funny because so the story of how we got this car was that my parents drove this car, but both my dad and my stepmom work from home, so they never drove it. And my dad was getting a new car for my stepmom, so he was wanting to sell this Mercedes. He was having trouble selling it, and he on multiple occasions told us, "Hey, would you be interested in buying my Mercedes?" And HP repeatedly said, "No, we don't want to buy it. We're worried." Basically under the premise of like, we're worried this car isn't going to be reliable enough. And finally, we were just like, okay, let's buy it. And it's been such a good car on Turo that even if we have to spend $500 to fix the issue that it currently has, it is a drop in the bucket compared to how well it's done on Turo.
Absolutely. And the maintenance hasn't been that bad either, so I can't knock it. It's a great car.
Next up is our blue Honda Fit. This is another one that we purchased last summer. Last year, whenever you quit your job, we were on like a buying spree for a couple of months there, right before the market hit its all-time high.
Yeah.
But we purchased this one for $6,000.
Now, this is actually kind of a hard vehicle to find. A lot of people gravitate towards reliable vehicles. Hondas and Toyotas have a pretty good reputation of being very reliable. So to find this car for this price was actually a really pretty good feat, honestly.
The guy was moving like the next day, remember? He was like desperate to get rid of the car.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we got there, we were definitely psyched. The car's actually pretty good looking on the outside and the inside. Paint kind of faded on the top, but mechanically, this car is very stout, very sound. No issues on this car. I mean, honestly, I like this car a lot.
I really like it. Sometimes I forget what it looks like on the inside because like HP is the one that checks in the cars 99% of the time, and so I'll go weeks if not months of seeing inside. And I was in that car yesterday and I thought to myself, this is a nice car. We need to get more of these. But to HP's point, they are very, very hard to find.
And this particular car, we'll have to say, has a lot of storage room. And I feel like the people that know that rent this car like an SUV. The seats go completely flat in the back.
It's like a mini SUV.
It is, yeah.
Next on this list is our blue 2012 Mazda 2. This is one that we bought like late summer, early fall of last year, and we paid $3,000 for it, but it did need a lot of work.
This car actually was kind of a
gamble, I would say.
It was a bit of a gamble. I mean, when I got this car, it was actually a pretty good looking car on the outside. It had been sitting for a little bit, so it was a little dusty, a little dirty. I fixed some stuff on it for pretty cheap. I did some body damage repair myself for the first time, so that was kind of a nice learning experience. And we ended up having to replace a door, which ended up costing us a little more than we wanted to spend, but hey, it ended up cleaning the car very nice. And then the motor exploded, so we had to get a new motor for it. Now this is kind of a learning experience as well. It allowed us to actually build a pretty good relationship with a shop, considering we're doing a pretty big major repair on it. They were able to replace the motor in that car fairly quickly after we got the motor, and all has been pretty well after that. It's got some, it owes us, so now it's going to be making our money back, and we're pretty excited to see how this car does in the future, but we ended up paying for it somehow.
Well, and even whenever we took into account the money that we spent investing into the motor rebuild, we were still like ahead. Like, it was no longer an amazing deal like it would have been had the motor not needed to be replaced, but it was still a solid deal, and we were able to get the car to the point where it was like perfect to go out on rentals. Like, that is a very mechanically sound car now.
Absolutely.
Then we have another Mazda, and our newest Mazda of the group, our 2013 white Mazda 3, which we purchased in December of last year, so a couple of months ago, for $5,500. That was a good deal.
That was a great deal.
Looking at that.
Yes, that was a really good deal. So this car actually I like a lot. This also has a Ford engine in it as well. This is pretty similar to like what the new Ford Focuses were coming out in like 2013, but I won't buy a 2013 Ford Focus because the transmissions of them are like hilariously, known for having this really terrible design transmission, and they all break at some point or another. So it really sucks that we can't go that way, considering we like Ford Focuses. But this was the answer. This transmission is different. Mazda did put a really good transmission. It's paired with a really good Ford motor, and this car is actually really good looking on the inside and the outside. Very clean car. It's a little bit bigger than our Mazda 2s.
It's just like a different shape.
It's just a different shape. Yeah, it's definitely a nice sedan car. Overall, I like this car a lot. It didn't really call for a lot of maintenance when we got it either. I think it needed some tires, some wiper blades, and a sound that did sound pretty concerning just ended up being a AC compressor, which I was able to do fairly cheaply. So
yeah,
I like this car a lot. This is a good looking car. I'm glad to have it in our fleet now.
It's a good car. It's mechanically sound. It's been a really good performer. I mean, it's been gone for like a month and a half now. It's been gone since February on a long-term rental, so it's been doing well. Next is one of our newer purchases, our 2012 white Yaris. You guys may remember that from a recent video if you've seen the channel before. And we purchased this for $6,000 back last month.
Solid buy. This is the last year. This particular year of the Toyota Yaris was only available, or this body style was only available for a fleet vehicle, but this fleet vehicle actually comes with power doors, locks, windows, so more than most of our other Toyota Yaris's. I like this one a lot. This was a really good buy, though tan interior, or stone and cloth stone interior. This car is actually a really good looking car on the outside. Probably one of the cleanest Yaris's that we've ever had. I like this one a lot. I might be saying that I like this car a lot, but we've been filling our entire fleet with cars that I like, and I'm very happy with it.
Well, and this is the first Yaris we've ever owned that's 4 doors and the sedan.
Yeah, and a sedan.
Next is our last vehicle in the fleet. It's our newest purchase. It's one that I was a little unhappy with whenever we first bought it. I think I was having buyer's remorse for a few days there, but as I've been looking at it, I feel good about it, and that is our 2015 Kia Rio, which was kind of expensive.
It was kind of expensive.
We purchased for $6,700.
Yeah, topping the list at our newest vehicle. I like this car. This one ultimately ended up being my decision, and I was actually against the car when we first saw it, but I had to open up my mind to it, and then I found out that this car actually has an updated engine that I can get behind, comfortably. So it's got a newer updated engine. The interior is actually a pretty good looking interior. It was a little dirty at first, but I cleaned it up nice and well. The problem was when we bought this car, there's a big windshield crack that we didn't know about when we were buying it, but we still decided to go with it anyways.
Well, we didn't know whenever we were going to go look at it.
Yeah,
we bought it whenever we knew it, like whenever we made the decision to buy it.
Yeah, so it was pretty big, but we've got that fixed. That car's almost ready to list. It's actually, we're listing it now.
Yeah, it's ready to list.
Yeah, so this car is going to be a really good car to go on. Only downside is that it's manual door locks and, windows. but it has power mirrors, so that's kind of
the manual doors and manual windows in a 4-door car, I think, is a pretty big downside. But as long as I think we're transparent about that to guests, I don't think it's going to be an issue. But I definitely think that, like, the idea of having to go like, reach in there and then unlock the back door is definitely a flaw, but it's okay.
Which I don't think it's that bad because it has an aux, and most people just care about an aux.
That's true. But that isn't all. We also have our RV and van fleet that was supposed to be done over a year ago, and it's still sitting in our backyard.
So looking inside, I've been very busy with it. My tools are everywhere because it requires a lot of tools and a lot of work. But with all of our power on, all of the wiring is done, most of the plumbing is done as well. It's just the fine-tuned stuff, like finishing these walls, a lot of these trimming pieces, getting the countertops nice and prepped, sealed, and then mounting them, and then putting up our cabinets up top. So we're getting very close. We're on the home stretch. It's just takes a lot of time when you're building everything from scratch. And last but not least is our RV trailer, which we can't show right now because it's in a rental, which hasn't been on a while, but camping season is starting to start again, so it's starting to get some bookings and starting to get some traction.
Now the RV is another one that I think is going to be really interesting. We got the RV back in October. We paid $13,000 for it, and to be honest, I think it's really hard to say how it will do because of the fact that it's been winter, and so it hasn't been camping and RVing season, and so seeing how it does in spring, summer, and early fall, I think will really be the dictator of how this does long term. But I will be honest, the RV has been a little bit more cumbersome than I anticipated. It was pretty expensive to get everything up and running so that a guest can stay comfortably in the RV. It also took a long time to get the traction rolling for it, but we are listed on Outdoorsy and RV Share, and we are starting to get some rentals in. So that brings us to the grand total of 15 cars, 13 of which are exclusively rented out on Turo, 2 of which are in the RV Share Outdoorsy fleet, and yeah, that's the updated list.
Now the goal is to get to 25 rentable vehicles at the end of the year, but we've been fighting a pretty big uphill battle between selling vehicles and losing vehicles, so I'm pretty confident we can do it. It's only March, so we have the rest of the year to get some more cars in our fleet. I'm pretty confident we can do it.
I think we can do it.
Guys, as always, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and we'll see you on the next episode.